So Scott, where'd I catch you?
You caught me at a meeting. A meeting I go to a lot. I guess I'm supposed to go straight into.
You bet.
Okay. I was raised like most of us here in this area. I kind of was force-fed a certain religious sect my entire childhood. I was raised Southern Baptist, almost to the point to where the church came to us. We didn't go to a brick and mortar church. It was outside most of the time, and I was taught more of the Old Testament of the Bible than I was the New Testament. And you know, as a child, it kind of burned me. It scared me. It was frightening. I was pretty good I was a pretty good athlete and had won a few trophies and soccer and baseball and things like that. And the leader of our church, for lack of a better term, would come to the house and bless it, you know. And I remember on one of her visits, she'd actually she took all of my athletic trophies because. And if I remember correctly, the term used was idols. We weren't allowed to have things like that, so it burned me, and it was frightening. I finished the military in 1999, and I remember at that point starting college and gaining more education. I started to come to the realization that I felt as if religion or religious instruction was more needed for less educated people. And the more education I gained going through my postgraduate and stuff like that, the more I saw it as an unnecessary crutch for people that just didn't really understand what was going on. I stayed that way even all the way through school and into the beginning of my career about 15 years ago. And I kept coming to the conclusion that I didn't need a reason to be good to people, and I didn't need a reason to actually do things that were right and good. And I always saw it as something that people should almost be embarrassed of, with their bumper stickers and their mega churches and things like that. It wasn't until I started going through the troubles that I went through where I started to realize that it wasn't really religion that was important, it was the spirituality. The spirituality is a prerequisite to any religious instruction. If you're not a spiritual person, then religion is definitely not going to in any way be appealing or in any way applicable in your life. You've got to have one before you have the next. So going through the troubles that I went through, what happened was, the way it started was, I'm a consumer. I mean, I'm an instant gratification person. I was raised in America. I grew up on a Nintendo. I need instant gratification. I need to change the way I feel almost immediately, as opposed to recognizing I don't feel well and going through a procedure to try to make myself feel better. I want it to be done quickly. And I didn't recognize that at the time. I felt as if the more money that I gained, the more homes that I could purchase, the better clothes that I could get, the entertainment going up, the better cars, that of course would bring happiness. I was raised rather poor, and I always noticed that the wealthier people that came, I grew up in Grand Lake, and I worked all the yacht clubs on the gas docks, and I would get there in my 1977 Ford and watch all these people pull up in their brand new cars and get on their brand new boats, which cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. They had smiles on their faces. So it seemed to me that the more money that I could attain and the more things that I could buy, the happier I would be, which makes sense. I mean, it makes perfect sense that I would think that way. Not spirituality, not religion. That doesn't bring happiness, but things bring happiness. So that's what I did. I got out of the military. I went to college. I busted my butt. Got through 4 years of school in 3.5. Came to Tulsa, started law school, got through 3 years of law school in 2.5, and I've been practicing law ever since. Of course, the second that I started practicing, I went to the Tulsa County Public Defender's Office, where you don't make a lot of money, but you gain the experience that you need. So I didn't exactly go crazy money-wise at that point. But in 2007 or 8, I went out on my own and I started practicing for myself with my own firm, and immediately started purchasing everything I could get my hands on. Of course, most of it being on credit, which I'm still paying for today. In 1 year, bought a house, bought a BMW, bought the wife an Audi, got married, paid for the wedding, did a Jamaica honeymoon, and in that same year, I lost my father. We had a rocky relationship in my adolescence, but after the military, we became exceedingly close for the last, 10 or 15 years of his life, and I didn't handle losing him well. He died of lung cancer with complications of pneumonia, and he suffocated to death. I sat with him for a week in the hospital, listening to him try to breathe because he was drowning internally. And when he finally passed, I did not grieve. I buried him and recognized that I didn't feel well, and did what the commercial told me to do. I went and saw a doctor because I didn't feel well. I didn't do counseling. I didn't do therapy. I didn't become more physically active. I decided that a medication bottle would probably be more helpful than anything healthy. My doctor prescribed me Xanax, and it was a nuclear bomb in my life. I quickly lost control of my ability to take it as prescribed. That turned into an opiate addiction, which then flourished into worse things. In coming to the conclusion that I needed help in 2015, I was more forced to recognize that living a more spiritual life was probably the only way that I would be able to make it through where I had gotten. And I learned that through a 12-step program. It was tough at first. The first couple steps of the program were not overly tough for me because I didn't have any other choice at that point. I felt like it was to either follow the path I was on to a certain death, or to listen to what the people that were happy and sober were doing, and that was to live a more spiritual life. That's why I kind of like the term higher power. I kind of like the term the universe, karma works, whatever word you can place on that unknown thing will work for me. God is still somewhat of a frightening word, but it still works. In doing this, I have realized that the really best way that I can live my life in a happy way is to do it under a spiritual set mindset, and that's what I continue to do today. I go to certain meetings every day almost. I regain perspective about what's important in life. I am constantly reminded that money necessary, yes, but not completely the one thing that will keep me happy. Not cars, not boats, not houses, not clothes. These things are needed, yes, but not necessary for happiness. And that's how I see it today.